Yes.
So, according to the little, excuse me, ticker tape at the top, it tells us that we are live. Trisha Lewis, welcome to our coffee conversation on LinkedIn Live. And also, can I say, Trisha Lewis, welcome to the Successful Women podcast show, because we should be converting this recording into a podcast at some point in the future. So, Trish, it's lovely to see you again.
It's a treat.
Yeah, I mean, we chatted recently, and I'm due to be a guest on your podcast show, which I think is out tomorrow. So I'm very excited about that. But it's fair to say that you and I have known each other for a number of years. And I clearly remember being in your lovely lounge a number of years ago, just after I'd started the podcast show. Oh, isn't it always the way? I remember being in your lounge a few years ago now, just after I'd started the podcast show, and we did what then seemed to be the latest thing, which was Facebook Live. We recorded on Facebook, and it was when you think now how far we've come. Now I'm really excited, Trish, to talk to you today, because I know you've got an amazing announcement to make. So I'm not going to steal your thunder. I'm just going to say, Trisha Lewis, tell us what's happening in your life these days.
Well, actually, very good timing, this, because literally about 15 minutes ago, the doorbell rang, the postman delivered a little envelope, and inside that little envelope, this is the very first time that I ever have seen it. Ta-da!
Oh, wow. The mystery of the squash shelf.
It's the real thing. You know, you spend ages looking at the mock-up cover and the poster and then all of a sudden your hands are actually on this real book. And I'm a bit of a book lover, as you can see, and there are many more outside in the hall. So this is a very exciting date. The official launch is tomorrow. That's when you will, you know, balloons and all that stuff. But it's there on Amazon, and it's been a journey.
Okay, well, that's the journey I want to hear about. Tell us about how, and please, because it's driving me mad, Unsquash, just tell me the story of that journey and about this book that you must be so excited. I know that feeling when it pops through the door.
You do indeed. And I think my desire to make up sort of words is increasing in my old age, not decreasing. So people who know me at all on social media will be used to the fact that I do come up with phrases that don't necessarily get found in the dictionary. So the unsquashing is one of them. And I suppose it all started once upon a time. I won't go back through my whole life story, but the notion was born in my research into imposter syndrome. Okay, so that's a phrase that a lot of people will be very familiar with. It wasn't even called that by the original researchers. It was imposter phenomenon, which I can't say or spell. And that researcher has recently said in more recent years, they wish they'd called it imposter experience. So is encapsulated within that the story of how difficult it is to name things, because once they get used too much, it's a label that gets lazy. So in a way, by using sort of no particular words like squash self and all the rest, I've kind of sort of drifted slightly away from that. But that was the nugget that started it, which was particularly driven by setting up my business 4 and a bit years ago, coming from, albeit freelance, self-employed for decades, but as an actor and a speaker and various other portfolio career related things, not the business world. So there I go, walking into the business world, slaying the various demons that I needed to, and I get hit in the face by all of the stuff, all of the self-doubt stuff. And then it was this sense of, hang on, how can I still be me, you know, Trisha, actor Trisha, whatever, and businesswoman Trisha? This is all really getting blurred, and I feel like I'm losing myself or squashing myself. And so I then had to go on an unsquashing journey in which I allowed all of that me-ness to come out, but be also enriched and evolved by the experience of running a business. So it was getting the alignment that was this unsquashing, and realizing how much I was being driven by labels and shoulds and comparisonitis and desire to be loved and all those other things. So in this book is, you know, it is my journey, but it isn't autobiographical in so much as this is born out of 4 years of having conversations and coaching clients and doing talks and getting feedback and really hearing the same things repeated over and over again. So it jolly well ought to resonate. And of course, it's got the you know, the stuff on how to step by step manage all that rubbish.
Brilliant. Well, you know how fascinated I am too by the imposter phenomenon, syndrome, whatever, because I always ask guests, and I think I probably asked you 5 years ago the same sort of question. But yeah, we talked about your previously and your acting career. I'm really interested in how that impacts on your coaching, your approach to business. Yes, because that has to give you a different perspective on all of it, really.
Absolutely. And interestingly, one of the things that people say, and this is, I think, really important to address, is, well, but it's okay for you, isn't it, Trisha? Because like you're very confident on stage and this, that, and the other. So can we really do the stuff you're saying we should? So number one, address that. Yes, I am confident on stage, etc., but that is because it happens to be my skill. Okay, I am not very good at Excel or building websites or building buildings. This just happens to be my skill. So that's what I developed over many years. I learned from directors, I learned my craft, etc. So you people out there, you've all got your thing, okay? So the unsquashing bit isn't to do with be like me, be da-da on stage, go and be a keynote speaker who does da-da. It's about realizing this value that you've got, these skills that you've developed, this experience, your story, which is only your story, your quirks, your mannerisms, all the rest of it, and bringing that into a good aligned place with something that can resonate with others and be of use. So as an actor, if you imagine from day one, you're taking on a character, you have to find this alignment. You know, it's essential. You can't just say, oh, I'm Trisha, I'll do it like me. you have to, you know, that cliche, what is my motivation? Might be a cliche, but it's absolutely valid, and it's valid in business. You know, why am I doing it? Why am I saying this? Why am I walking over to that part of the stage? Why am I reacting like this to this other person? That's all part of this glorious journey as an actor that you go on. And on it, the rehearsal process is stringent. You get literally torn to shreds before you can put it all back together again. So all of that, and experimenting and doing something like you've never done it before. Why don't you try it like this? You know, all of that to me is what gets us into a great unsquashed place and able to have an impact as we want to, okay, and engage an audience in our real way.
And there's so many connections there with business generally anyway, isn't there, I guess? So, absolutely. You know, as you know, I was a police officer for 30 years and starting my own business. I would argue, yeah, there were some lessons I could bring with me, but there was a lot of very new stuff. What about you being an actor? And then we're in business for ourselves and, you know, marketing ourselves, exposing ourselves on social media.
Yes, and in fact, it's funny because social media is a stage. I mean, it is a stage. I mean, that's a perfect way of describing it. And there is backstage and there is front stage, you know, and a part of what you do backstage is making those connections, you know, by commenting on other people. So that's part of your your backstage crew, you're working as a team together. It's not just you on stage in the spotlight, you know, the whole thing about putting on a production, and it was 99% theatre that I did, not TV or anything like that. So was, you know, involved, well, everything involves a team. And you've got other cast members, you've got the people that, you know, do the lighting and everything else. And it's the same in business. You know, you have to learn that it isn't just about, oh, I've got to get on that stage and perform. It's, you know, I'm going to listen to other people. We're going to work together, and we're going to go on a journey. And some of it will be a bit rubbish, and we'll have audiences that don't get it. So we'll have to think, oh, maybe I didn't match that message to that audience, or maybe that's not the audience that I should be doing this for. It's is it metaphor, analogy, or simile? Oh,
let's go with
those three words. Yeah, acting, business. It's you can use the acting journey as a great metaphor for the business growing journey. Yeah,
brilliant. So, what about the process of writing a book? Because that's a challenge for many of us. And I've interviewed people who have, you know, the most amazing books, haven't really enjoyed very much the process. How do you go about that? Take us.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I can't be. Yeah, I mean, there are always, in every process, in every evolving learning process, there will always be days we think, what the heck am I doing? Or this isn't right. But I mean, but you can't avoid that. It would be the same in rehearsing a play. So I think the important thing, and this is what I did get right, because I wrote a book about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it's on my shelf in a file, and it was sort of on imposter syndrome, but I instinctively, I'm quite good on instincts. I think that's another actor thing, I don't know, but just me. I thought, this isn't it. This isn't the book. And I was right, because when I got to grips with this one, I had the buzz and the you know, thrill of the adventure going on right from the word go, because I was doing something a bit different, but it was me. But I'd also figured out what people wanted to hear, and I was using this wonderful vehicle of Investigator Lewis and using a story sort of narrative, got some illustrations that just, and so I was excited about it from a very early stage, but that's only because I did this groundwork with a book coach who encouraged me. I could have watered this down a lot, but this book coach called Helen Pollock said to me, no, go for it. If you're going to do this Investigator Lewis thing, do it properly. Do not do it half-heartedly. Go on. I said, you sure? You sure people will it's a business budget? Yes, she kept saying, yes. So every chapter that I handed over to her, she just kept coming back and saying, yes, yes, I'm loving it. And so that kind of, that's like working with a good director who will challenge you, say, let's try it this way. But that, to me, I can't really say that I had a struggle with the I loved it.
Good. Yeah. Well, good.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. And it's such a thrill, I find, in if you're committed to a project like this, is actually taking the time, putting that side of time, and just I mean, I'd retired when I wrote my book, and so was a full-time mum, and I would get into my computer and I'd go, and the next thing I know, there'd be little ones stood behind me. Well, they were 13. It's not that little, really. But is there any tea? Oh, you're here. I was really enjoying myself there. But it is wonderful when you can throw yourself into any sort of project. And I guess those similarities must be the same with acting, because obviously, depending on the character, there'll be research. And I know how much research you put into your work.
Yes, absolutely. Research is very much, and I'm going to put my hands up. It is a luxury. You know, I am at a phase of my life where my kids are all very, very grown up, left home. Although one of them did come back for most of lockdown, which has been actually great. But so I accept the fact that I was without certain challenges that some people have, and I so I don't want to sound smug about this, because it's not easy to carve out that space and time. I think you really want.
I mean, I find there's a lot of men and women who do write books, and it is later on, and you can argue that maybe you've learned a lot in life as you've gone along the way, and yes, actually, it is very time consuming, and you do need to. Not have to have other things that you've got to worry about at the same time. It's certainly not as easy.
I think funnily enough, there's always a time. We all work differently. We're all individuals. So I would describe it. I said late developer. Somebody corrected me and said late bloomer, which is kind of nice. I like that. Yeah. and I am, because for me, I went to university at 38, I think. No, what I mean, 48.
Wow.
2002, as a mature student at Bournemouth Uni, did communication. And that for me, you talk about research. I mean, I had to do a dissertation and everything. It was like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is a whole different world. I thought I could write, but no, this is, but I loved it despite the pain. I was in tears with my tutor at times, but I loved it. For me, that was the time to do it. Had I done this from school, I just would have spent the entire time falling in and out of love and being useless. I wouldn't have learned a thing. I'm honest with myself. That is how it would have been. And then the same with the acting. I did this, that, and the other. Then I did nothing. Then I went back and was doing bits of fringe theatre, having to go away to London, but I had a little kid. It was all getting a bit. And then, at a later stage, I figured it out, and I started doing these one-woman plays, then one-woman shows as well, entertainment, singing, all sorts of stuff. But I made it work and didn't get hung up on but this doesn't make me a proper actor, does it? Because I'm not doing a 10-week sort of tour in some theatre production of, Ibsen or something. I'm just, I was able to just not, So I would happily go back and do an amateur production panto if anybody wants to ask me. I've lost that fear of, or that sort of thing of, oh, this is proper, this isn't proper. People will only take me serious if it's this, if not that. I did what felt right, and that involved a lot of research, because my little research head has to be fed. Definitely. I love, give me the opportunity to write an article or do this or whatever. Oh, yes. And now I'm going to go and have a look here and rummage around here. And and just go down lots of rabbit holes. And that's why I've got so many blinking books, because every time I go down a rabbit hole, somebody recommends a book.
Anyway, it's worth repeating to any directors out there, the panto season may be on this year, as we're still in the pandemic time, that TrishaLewis.com. She's always available.
I can sing. I can move still, even at my age. Yes, I'll never forget being a prince, but my favorite one was a baddie, a beautiful character called Belladonna, and I wore a long black wig, and I
could see you in that. Yeah, I could see you playing the baddie. Yeah, and you'll have us all believe you're an introvert, won't you?
Well, what is going on with these words, introvert and extrovert? Aren't they interesting? I think I must be what's called an ambivert, which is quite okay, in the middle. I think I can go both ways.
Like
and ambivert, as opposed to ambidextrous. No, that's because I definitely I have not had a major problem with lockdown. Again, very fortunate, roof overhead, able to still do things online, etc., etc. But I haven't if I was a out and out extrovert, I'd be like desperate to be with crowds of people. But then equally, I am able to do it. But I do actually usually need to recuperate a bit after doing the out there stuff. So there we go. So you never judge a book by its cover. I think that's the moral.
Talking of books, how about a couple of tips for listeners and viewers, of course, on unsquashing ourselves? Anything you could share with us that would tease us into heading off to TrishaLewis.com and purchasing the book? She waves one in front of the screen, unashamedly. The mystery.
Unashamedly, indeed. The way I've done this, one of the tools in the book is the rationality filter, which is like so simple, but it's what we don't do. So you have your kind of gut fear, if you like. Oh, I can't go into that particular networking group because they're all different and they'll think I'm stupid, shorthand. Then you stop and you get your rationality filter out. Visualization, that's what I like here. And you pour this fear through, and out the other end, you come out with something that actually feels much more rational. All the emotional blah, blah, blah stuff. Because what we do is we make assumptions about how other people are going to react to us, which are totally made up in our own minds. We don't even give people a chance before we've written off We also have definitions about what makes, a professional businesswoman, what makes this, blah, blah, blah. So we've done all that to ourselves. Squash. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I can't do it. I can't do it. So out the other end of your filter comes something like, this will be a really interesting experience. I've never met this group of people before. I've no idea what they're like. And won't it be fun to discover? And who knows, I might learn something completely new and make a new friend. And if they don't particularly take to me, that's fine. It'll be an experience anyway. So it doesn't hold you back. The other one is recognizing your squasher triggers, as I call them. So you really, really almost write down things that regularly will set you off down that squasher trap. Yeah. The people, words, situations, events, mood, lack of sleep. It can go all the way through. Brain, body, they're all connected.
Yeah. Those buttons that are pressed.
Yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. Well, Trisha, that's been fabulous hearing about you and the mystery of the unsquashed self. Share with everybody. I know the launch date is tomorrow, April Fool's Day. Any particular reason for it being the 1st of April?
Well, funny you should ask that, Jill. It is April Fool's Day, and I am very geeky about the brain. I've learned a lot about it over the years. For a while, I worked with people with dementia doing stuff, but that's another story. But I got very intrigued by the brain. The brain fundamentally plays tricks on us. Of course it does. So hence, I thought April Fool's Day worked quite well.
I like it. Excellent. So let the listeners know how they can get hold of you, where they can buy that amazing book, and anything else you'd like to share.
Thanks, Jill. So, I am trishalewis.com, which is fairly obvious, Trisha. Don't ask me why. And I have a fairly resource-rich website, so you will get everything you could possibly desire in that website, and obviously the link to Amazon. At the moment, the book is going to be Amazon for the next sort of 3 months. It's a bit like estate agents. You sort of go,
exclusivity first.
Yeah, but just to say it's Kindle and paperback. Just to say for anybody who's not wanting to go to the big Zon, it will be out all over the place in lots of lovely independent-y type places after that as well. So, but there we go. Yeah, very easy. I mean, to be honest, there aren't many books called that. So you shouldn't have too much trouble popping that into Google.
I shall put all the details in the show notes of the podcast show, which we will be recording from this very shortly. So just before we finish with our lovely viewers on LinkedIn, Trisha, can I say thank you so much? It's been a fabulous pleasure once more to see you and to hear you. So thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Jill.